Hey guys, Will Terry here with another video. This one's going to be entitled How Should I Protect My Artwork? And before I get into that, I'm just going to tell you really quick that I'm just finishing up the artwork for Gary's Worms, which is the sequel to Gary's Place, my story app that I did with Rick Walton. And so anyway, and you can always check on my progress at my blog at willterry.blogspot.com, link right down here. And let's get into this. So this question was a really good one, and it came from Amanda. Now I had talked about this kind of a thing back in a video last year when I talked about copyright, but I'm going to kind of approach it from a little bit different perspective this time. So I'm just going to read a little bit from her message. And maybe I'll mention this too. She's a Facebook friend. I actually use my personal account, and I friend everybody, so I still have room on that account. And if you're looking for a friend, send me a friend request. Okay, so she says, hey, I had a question. I was curious, what do you do about people trying to steal your work? Is there anything in particular you do? I don't remember if you made a video on this. I was wondering, since I'll be putting myself out there more in the future. And I thank you, Amanda. I get this question a lot, actually. And it's apparent that a lot of people have different opinions about this one. So I just kind of jotted down some ideas on this. I'm just going to kind of go through these. Um, so if we think back to when the internet was first started, um, and probably 5 years, 5 or 7 years later, actually, but back in the mid '90s, a website came into popularity in the illustration community called the iSpot, and it's THE and the letter ISPOT, theispot.com. It's still going right now. It's a portfolio site for illustrators. When that site first came out, it was the first one that kind of blew up and got big, and there was chat boards on there, and everybody that was in illustration was going on that site and connecting with each other, and it was this new thing on the internet, and it was kind of amazing. But the interesting thing is all the images for portfolios were like this big. They were about 3 inches by 4 inches. And if you go on there now, there's actually an option that they added just a few years ago to enlarge those images and make them larger. But back then, everybody was worried that, oh my gosh, we got the internet, people could steal our work, it could go all over the place. And what do I do? If I just make my images really super small, then no one will be able to steal them. The problem was, if you make them really small, nobody can see them. So what you'll see now is most of the top illustrators will show their work fairly large on their website. Um, and it's not uncommon to see images that are 12 or even 14 inches in the long dimension, um, 10 inches, but definitely not 3 inches by 4 inches. So that's the first thing. Um, or they're either doing that, or they're once famous illustrators who haven't gotten the memo, and they're not showing their work big. They've still got their own personal websites where they're showing work like this, and it's a dead giveaway that someone's on their way out when they're showing their work really small. I don't know that I can think of offhand anybody in the circle of illustrators and animators that I hang out with that show their illustrations really small on their site anymore. In fact, I know an illustrator, and I'm not going to mention my name, of someone who is very famous in New York, whose attitude was, I'm not going to show off anything big, and I'm going to make sure that no one can ever steal my work. And that guy is not working as an illustrator anymore. Okay, so tiny images, even watermarks, you'll see people put watermarks right in the middle of their image. The funny thing about watermarks is, again, the top illustrators don't do it, the beginning illustrators do it. So the sure sign to an art director that you're a beginner is to put a big old watermark across your image. You go on DeviantArt and you see that they have that, I think it's a setting that you can choose to do where you put a watermark right on your image. You won't see it with the top illustrators. Um, they just don't do it because it's unnecessary. I'll talk about that in a little bit. Another thing is disabling the right click, so you can't right click and save an image, which is another thing that is really kind of short-sighted and short thinking as far as the market goes. All those kinds of techniques are, all they're going to do is frustrate a potential client that might want to download some of your images to pitch in a pitch meeting to some of their clients. And some people will say, yeah, but sometimes they'll copy images and they'll use them and they'll get another illustrator to do it. That's happening. It does happen. Are you going to be able to catch somebody doing that? No, you're not going to be able to catch that. Sometimes you might get a job where they got the idea from looking at some other illustrator's work and they actually got you to do it. That's the way the cookie crumbles, I guess you could say. And then for me, like for instance, if you disable the right click, I mean, both Mac computers and PCs have a feature where you can, on the PC, there's just a clipping tool where if you see an image on your screen, you can easily use the clipping tool and just grab it. And that's what I do for class. But if I go to a website where someone's got their images really small, I just pass right over them. In my classes at UVU, where I teach illustration, I show illustrators' work that I really like. And what does that do? That gives them exposure. That's 20 more people in the world who have heard of that artist. And when you're trying to build a career, when you're trying to build a following, the last thing in the world that you want is anonymity. You need your work to spread around the globe as much as possible. Hopefully, you're selling things from your website. So it's like a big funnel. Everybody that you put in at the top, there's a certain amount of people that are going to trickle out the bottom and actually buy something from your website. It could be 100 to 1. It could be 1,000 to 1. But the more people you put in at the top, the more sales you're going to get down at the bottom. And it's just short-sighted thinking if you think that you're going to protect your work by not letting people see it. I've talked about friends before who have gotten amazing work from executives at movie companies who have seen their work and who have actually bought original paintings. And I have tons of stories like that where someone saw someone's work. Well, if they're seeing your work this big, or if they can't right click and save it and show it somewhere else, if they're worried that they have to find your website again to actually show that image, you're gonna lose more than you're gonna gain. Okay. I'm just kind of going through my little notes here, but once I asked an artist to participate in our SBS classes in our online teaching, or sbslearn.com, and she said, I don't want to teach people how to create art because they'll copy me. This is someone who does not understand the sheer numbers of people that are online. So if they're not copying her, they're going to copy the person that I do hire to teach with me, and that person's going to get more exposure, and those people are going to copy for a while. I talked about copying. I have a video just a few videos ago about copying your mentor's work and stuff like that, that it's a good thing. It really is. Copying is a good thing. We all do it. Everybody has done it. That's how we learn. I don't want to get into that right now, but if you think you can prevent people from copying, I mean, that's how you learned. That's silly. That's how everybody learns. Okay, so we're now with the internet. We're living in an economy of free and then buy something. Free, and I'm trying to get you to buy something, but this is free. And then if you like that, you actually might buy something from me. That's how companies are making a living, and the ones that understand that and are doing that and get that are probably the ones, or most of the ones, that are thriving. So if you look at companies or websites that we have access to, like YouTube, Pinterest, Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr, and Blogger, and a slew of others, all that content is put out there for free. So if you think you're holding yours back, go on Pinterest and type in illustration and look at how many things are put out there for free and how many things are a decent size when you actually click on them. If you're not putting your stuff out there, other people are. If other people are, they're getting the clicks, they're getting the attention, they're getting the exposure, and you're not. So you're dying, they're starting to get more exposure, and they're probably going to thrive. But if you look at examples such as like bands, different musicians, they understand that they are creating content. Some of them are creating content just for their YouTube channel to give away for free. So they're actually getting ad revenue that's coming in because they're creating cool content. And there are thousands of channels that are profitable on YouTube just because they're creating stuff that people want to click on for free. So it's happening with or without you, people are going to give stuff away for free, and they're going to thrive from doing it. There's also a side benefit to that, is that you can actually get people to come back to your website and buy something, if you have something for sale. Um, you have companies like the UFC. If you're into watching Ultimate Fighting, I know that this is an art channel, and most people probably don't care about fighting, but I've noticed that they put out videos for free. They're probably one of the companies that protects their content more than anybody else, but they're still putting out a free video to try to hook people, to get people to look and see what they have, to come back and hopefully buy from them. You look at content creators like Jimmy Kimmel, who will put out viral videos, or videos that he hopes to go viral, like the wolf that was wandering around in the Olympic Village and in the dorms. And he's hoping to get you to come back and actually subscribe and watch his show. Um, you're likely to run into three types of people, okay? When you're talking about your art and consumers of your art, there's really three types of people. There's people that will buy all of your stuff. The better you get, you will run across people. I have people who, if I put out a book, they will buy it. They're waiting for my next book. I don't have a ton of those, but I do have some. And a lot of them are friends. A lot of them are friendly people that I've met online who collect my books and stuff like that. And they're just going to buy everything you do. Then there's a much larger group of people who will buy some of the stuff. Maybe they're not super into you or something, but they when they see your stuff, they really like it. And some of them will buy your stuff. Okay, and it doesn't have to be children's books. It could be prints, it could be apps, it could be games, it could be jewelry, it could be um, graphic novels or comics or whatever it is that you're making. Um, and there's a group of people that when they see it, they'll like it enough and they'll buy it. Then there's another group, the third group, that will see your stuff and like it, but they'll never buy it. They never will ever buy it. And those are the people primarily that will also steal your work and try to do something with it. So I think it's important to realize that a lot of people worry, like if someone takes your stuff, right? And if they steal it, they might make a T-shirt, or they might make prints or something, um, or they might copy it or do whatever, that they're losing a sale. But I think it's really important to understand that those kinds of people typically will never buy your stuff. There are people who will never ever pay money for an app on their phone. They just won't do it. They'll always look for something for free. They're not your customer. You don't care about them. They're never going to buy your thing. If they steal it, big deal. You're looking beyond that. You're looking at the people who will buy your stuff. Um, so the worst thing that can really happen if you're not protecting your content, like I don't, I put everything out there. I put it out there nice and big so people can see it. The worst thing that can happen, I guess, is someone can make a little bit of money. I think it's also important to note, I mentioned this on my other video, that you'll find that big companies typically will not steal your stuff. Now, there are exceptions that will happen every now and then, but big companies have a lot to lose. They have a reputation, especially now with the internet. If a publisher stole my work and published it, or if a big t-shirt company or somebody published it, I can get on Facebook, I can get on Twitter, and I can rally people, and I can say, hey, share this with your friends. This company is being, a jerk, and they're stealing my stuff, and nobody wants that kind of negative publicity. So it just doesn't happen. Plus, the reason they're in business, the reason they're big in the first place, was not from stealing. The reason they're big is because they know how to publish. They know how to do things right. So typically, you're not dealing with a lot of money. Even if someone did steal something of yours, you're talking about them selling a few little things. But what are you giving up? That's the bigger question. By locking your content down, by controlling it and making sure it doesn't get out there, you're risking not being discovered. You're risking not being discovered by clients, by teams of people who might want to use you. I actually just joined up with a pretty exciting team that's working on a secret project right now. And I know it sounds like, oh, secret project. I'll definitely be blogging about this in the future. This is kind of a summer thing that I'll be working on. And customers, you're going to miss out on customers who can come and buy your stuff. Those three things that I want to leave you with. three things that are typical with really successful artists. And the first one is artists have abundance of ideas. They're not worried about this idea or that idea. They know that they will have an abundance of ideas, lots of ideas that will flow forth out of them now, this year, next year, 5 years, 10 years from now. Not all of your ideas will pay back financially. So artists realize that they create, they move on to the next thing. They create, they move on to the next thing. They don't worry about that other idea that they did last year. It's gone. It's done. It's either making money or it's not. Um, and the third one is successful artists look forward and don't worry about others trying to take advantage of them. All the successful artists I know are looking ahead at what's coming, and they're not looking behind, and they're not worried about someone taking something or stealing something. Um, think about it like this: the spring. You have a nice little mountain spring. The spring constantly trickles pure water without caring who drinks from it. You need to be like the spring. And I know a bunch of artists, and the list could go on forever, but artists that I'm talking about that do what I just talked about in this video, and I'm just going to name some really quick. Chris Oatley, Corey Godby, Justin Gerard, Wouter Tulp, Wiley Beckert, Jim Madsen, Mel Milton, Julia Sarda, Ryan Wood, Tim Banks, Kevin Keel, Steve Gray, Jake Parker, just to name a few. Jake Parker, my business partner. Um, anyway, I hope this really helps. And share your artwork, be prosperous, um, and you will grow. Don't hold everything down and lock everything down. The people that I know that are doing that are dying out. Okay, so anyway, thanks for watching. Hope this helps. Bye.